Well, hello, folks. Sorry, we're starting out just a little bit late. I had technical issues with my chat, and Ron had to go to another computer because his camera decided it wanted to have special effects we didn't pay for. But I'm really excited tonight. This is the chat I've been trying to have for a while. But I am here with Ron Meischker from Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, and also my friend Dave from Gamers on Games, who are here. And we're going to be having a chat about Page and all things gaming, and it should be a lot of fun. Chat is working again, so I can finally get your comments up. But let me bring everybody on screen here. Hello, Ron and Dave. How are
Hey,
all
how
of
are
you?
you?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for coming on tonight. Really, it's I'm excited to have you here, and thank you so much.
Well,
Is that-
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's awesome. Listen, and I guess I probably, according to YouTube's rules, I probably should say put sponsor content down because I have been given the great privilege and honor of being named a special guest at Page 2 this year. So I'll have to, so I have that going on for me. But I would be promoting this anyway because I really thought that was a lot of fun last year, and we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. But we want to start out with some get to know you questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, good, because we would be doing it anyway. That's kind of the show. Um, so here's the one question. And Dave, I might because you're on here too. But I'll start with Ron because you are the main guest. You are on the thumbnail and everything. This is the one question I ask everyone. It's probably a question you have been asked a billion times. But this is a wacky and kind of bizarre hobby that we are all involved in a very good way, in all the good ways. But how did you get involved in this wonderful and strange hobby?
As a 10-year-old kid, our family, we lived in the middle of nowhere. There were only a few other houses, even within walking distance, let alone, or really within bicycle distance, let alone walking distance. And I befriended a couple of kids around my age, two brothers who lived up the street from me, and one of them was a little older, and he was getting into Dungeons and Dragons, and asked if I wanted to play. I said sure, and I was instantly hooked. I mean, even at that young age, I was hooked.
Nice.
So it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Next thing you know, I was out buying every new thing that came out and running my own game, by 11 years old or maybe 12.
Okay.
And, I was the go-to guy in my town when you wanted to play D&D. Everybody knew, hey, go see Ron if you want to learn how to play. And, the early 80s, it was popular, extremely popular. And, I met a lot of people and played a lot of D&D through my high school years for sure.
That's awesome. What did you start with? What was the first game that you played?
AD&D.
So you started with AD&D?
I started with AD&D, and then I bought the basic set and the expert set, the Moldvay.
That was my first game, was Mold Bay. So, and Ron has vanished.
Ron is back.
Ron is back.
Uh,
I think Ron's having a stall out. Ron's buffering.
editions, and started running those, and yeah, see me. Can you not hear me?
We're having frame rate issues. We're having frame rate issues with you all of a sudden. So I see you on the one thing. It's going buffering.
Everything's working perfectly.
That's the wonders of live streaming.
Let me take
No
a look
problem.
here.
Someone started watching a stream on Netflix, and that just screwed up your bandwidth. Dave, how'd you get involved?
Okay, so I was a little bit younger than Ron. I was probably 7 or 8. Believe it or not, I actually got started with Starford Tears, not D&D like most people.
Oh, you're a weird guy.
I know, right? But
That's
I'm
good.
also more of a science fiction person than I am a fantasy person. I saw a couple kids playing it at recess, and I was like, that looks really interesting. And in typical game designer fashion, I took what I saw and tried to build it at home.
Okay.
So my first experience with Star Frontiers was actually to attempt a homebrew right off the bat.
How old were
So
you?
I was like, I had to be like somewhere between like 7 and 8, something like that.
Homebrewing
Like
at 7.
I literally found an old photo of me on the jungle gym holding my basic book, the basic rules book for Star Frontiers.
That's wild. So he got started with Star Frontiers, Ron.
Oh,
He's one of the strange people. 3 attribute
Yeah,
scores and
well,
percentile dice. Have fun.
yeah. Well, the funny thing was is I went berserk because some of the stuff uses a D5, and being we high, I didn't know that there is no such thing as a D5. I didn't realize because they don't specify it's D100 divided by 2,
There you go.
which I would have understood. But they were like, no, it's a D5. I'm like, okay, I guess I got to go out and buy a D5. I went out buying set after set of the multi-pack of like various dice, and I'm
no
like,
D5.
that's a 4, that's a 6, that's an 8, that's a 10, that's 12, that's 20. No D5s we've had. I'm like, where do you find this one die?
It's not one of the
Oh, it's
platonic
supposed to be D10
solids.
divided by 2.
There you go. Ron, you are
Young
back.
children.
Your frame rate is back. Yeah, the wonders of children. So you started with D&D. Dave started with Star Frontiers. Is fantasy still your favorite genre? What other genres do you like to bring to the table?
I like post-apocalyptic stuff. I enjoy post-apocalyptic role-playing games. I like future role-playing games. I like today's day and age role-playing games, and I've been having a lot of fun with DM Dave's Badge Quest. I've been having some fun with that, and but if I have a preference, if you said, "Hey, you can only have one genre," it would be fantasy for sure.
That tends to be my go-to. If you like modern stuff, I'll have to pitch my friend Dave from Grimwood Games, who was actually at EcclesiaCon last year. He just launched his backer kit for his Ironbound system, which is modern fantasy, modern urban fantasy. So it's like Dresden Files. Very, very good stuff.
It's kind of got also some Shadowrun aspects to it.
It's kind of fun. So
yeah.
All right, Dave, you're up, man. Your question.
Let's see here. What is this is a completely eclectic question, so just take it as such. What is your favorite die in tabletop RPGs and why?
My favorite die?
Yeah, everyone's got a favorite die.
It's the 20-sider. I mean, how can it not be? I mean, it determines so many things, whether it be skill checks or attacks, or you can use it as a percentage die. You can use it as a D10. There's all sorts of things you can do with a D20. So if I had to go with one die, it would be that die.
Awesome.
Okay. Wes, what do you think?
I like that answer. I mean, the D20. My favorite die is the D12, which is partly going into your next question, but also because I like a die that if you throw it at someone, it can be considered to be a ranged weapon. And the D12 has just got that throw for it. It's got that heft. Even though D20 is bigger.
I used to be a D10 guy, and then after all the recent games I've been playing, I'm moving into D8s. So
you can spin those like a top. That's fun.
Well, it's kind of nice. It's got multiple uses, but also it doubles as a caltrop, so it's kind of like a D4 mixed with a D10. It's kind of like that in between area.
Yeah, I would say that the D4 would be the wrong answer because then we just have to have like a psychological intervention for you.
What, you don't like dagger damage all the time?
I mean, I have a short. I'm afraid they're going to line up in a floor somewhere in a darkened room and get back at me. So they're kind of scary.
All right, wait. We gotta do the question that goes alongside with the D4.
Okay.
Which would you rather have to step on in the middle of the night? Legos or D4s?
Lego have
Ron, what are you thinking?
Lego have flat points.
Listen, I don't think either would impact me. My feet are so gnarled and nasty. So you know what? I'd probably be walking around with the D4 stuck in the
The
stuck
callus.
in the arch of my foot and go, foot's bothering me a little bit. Let me put on these shoes. Yeah, maybe it'll
It
go
just must be
away.
another corn.
Yeah.
All right. So my original hand-in-hand question was with that one was actually, what die do you also think is underutilized in gaming?
Underutilized.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and somewhere in a dark room, sitting alone, there's one of the there's somebody from Iron Crown Enterprises going, I can't believe it, but he said it. I think percentage rolls. I think you could really break every game down. If you had to break it down and you only had 10-sided dice or 20-sided dice, you could break down every success or failure chance to a percentage. So I don't know if that's a single die. I mean, if you want to go with game science and say, pull out the golf ball, 100-sider, great. But I think percentages really can break the games down, and could really differentiate character skills, character attacks. 10% really makes a difference, and I think it's really useful. And the six Iron Crown Enterprises fans, the six Rollmaster fans out there are probably like, yes, he agrees with us, he likes us.
Nothing wrong with any of that. I'm on board for all answers.
I was not expecting that, but I can't say no because I've actually watched conversations of people who have only played like 5e and they do not know how to make percentile rolls because you don't do it anymore.
I think they can't write. I think they can't read cursive writing either.
Well, that's getting to be a thing.
Or tell time with the hands on a clock.
I'm not going. The clock. The clock is a real thing. I can't get there with cursive. So my little one will know how to tell time with a clock.
All right.
I was gonna say, if my kid can tell time with the clock, then I think we're all okay.
I hope so. I'm a little worried. Anyway, all right. My question then. All right, what games are you playing right now, Ron?
Oh, geez. So, playing a lot of AD&D Second Edition. Um, the game room here. It's dark now, but it's a pretty active room throughout the month. We have two different campaigns going on with two different groups. One every other Wednesday night and one every other Sunday afternoon, and play Shadow Dark once or twice a month on Saturdays. We've been playing in a campaign with Anthony Simeone, who I think you guys know. He's a local guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, toying around with Badge Quest, toying around with some board games. Would love to play some Twilight 2000 or some post-apocalyptic Car Wars scenarios. But it's kind of tough pulling it all together.
Did you pick up the latest version of Car Wars? Didn't one come out just like a year ago or so?
I think they put out, a large consolidated compendium box sets.
Okay.
I didn't pick them up because, frankly, if I could play, if I had people would play regularly, I'd happily pick them up. I think it's a great thing whether you're running the road race type scenarios that they have out there. Kind of a combination between rollerball and Mad Max, or if you just want to run like a Mad Max sort of campaign. I always used to have a ton of fun with that. You can always implement, there's a couple different role playing systems. GURPS is one of them, but you could implement the direct Car Wars role playing game. I think that either would be great. And
Dave vanished. He's back.
Yeah, there he is. I mean, and there's other games out there that kind of fill that void, newer games like Gaslands and things like that. but it's just a matter of getting people who are willing to invest a little time
Yeah,
and get involved in campaign play. And I just haven't been able to find that yet.
that's a shame. Easy D6's Wasted World has got this really nice mix between like Gamma World and Mad Max. It's a fascinating setting that DM Scotty created. Really, really cool. Um, so then we're going to start getting into shift into page a little bit. Um, but here's my one thing. So we there is a guest list of people who are coming to page this year. It's significant is probably the adjective I'll
Yep.
use for it. How did you connect with all these folks? And can you have them be my friend too? With that's the other part. So
I've been around the hobby for a very long time. When Dave and I met up at EcclesiaCon, we started talking, and he got a sense for how far back I go, not only just in the hobby, but within the region.
The Metamorphosis Alpha shirt was already a pretty good indicator.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've been around forever. I've been a collector forever. I run a couple of, or at least one pretty large Facebook group related to collecting.
it's a really
And
good group.
yeah, it's a fun group, very little drama. As you know, many of the RPG sites are, have a lot of drama, unfortunately, for whatever reasons. And uh,
Well,
when talking,
hold on. A bunch of people like to sit around and tell stories and pretend to be characters and then have drama.
well, it's a lot of type A people, is what. And if you're not type A and you're in a hobby, then you're passive aggressive, which is the antithesis of type A, right?
Yeah.
So there's always a little bit of conflict there,
Mm-hmm.
but the conflict really escalated to another level during COVID. People were shut in,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw a lot of canceling and attacking, and over social beliefs, or what rule set you play, or it didn't matter. People were just going after one another. And in talking to some of the folks in that collectors group, who include many old time game designers,
Mm-hmm.
they said, hey, we should run a convention. And I said, well, I'd be game. I've run conventions in the past, long, long ago, more than a
Mm-hmm.
quarter of a century ago. Um, but I have to put two caveats. One, it has to be fun. If it's not going to be fun for me, if it's going to be work, I'm too old to just
Okay.
do it for work. And two, there needs to be a good cause element.
Okay.
Uh, and once I got some buy-in from some of the major collectors from around the country, I said, okay, we can do this. And I started leaning on some people I've known over the years, people I've done favors for, people who are just my friends, and said, hey, you want to come to Philadelphia? And of course, the first person I reached out to, controversially or not, was Frank Mentzer, because he's from Philadelphia originally. He's from Delaware County,
Okay.
and that was a good move in the end. Uh, didn't really keep people away, and it was a great thing for him. I know, it meant a lot to him to get invited out as a guest, and he was a tremendous guest. I mean, he talked to every single gamer that presented themselves before him. He signed autographs all weekend. He ran games all weekend, and his love for playing games is evident. And as I think both of you know, because we both had this conversation. To me, all the other stuff, all the other noise, I'm going to call it, related to gaming and the hobby and social issues or whatever you want to call it, they all kind of go away once you're at the table. When we're all at the table, everybody's aligned. We're all aligned in having that fun.
Hmm.
I personally, I don't care who you voted for. I don't care who you slept with. I don't care what God you're worshiping. It doesn't matter to me because we're having fun in that moment and we're aligned in our effort to have fun. And that's what I really focused Paige on being.
Okay.
Come here, have fun, and we do have a code of conduct, and it's pretty cut and dry code of conduct. But come and have fun. Don't worry about the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's resonated with a lot of people. And you asked about the guests and how do I know all these people? Just from over the years, some of them I didn't know.
Okay.
I'll be honest, a lot of the YouTube folks, I didn't know who they were. Some reached out to me. Some reached out through third parties.
Okay.
Some I met last year at Page, like you. Met up with Dave, though I'm pretty sure we ran across each other back in the old days.
From
At some
stores.
of the New Jersey conventions, it would be impossible that we didn't. But to me, the more the merrier. Come on out. If you've had an impact in the industry in some way, shape, or form, whether you're a designer or an author or a content creator or a reviewer or whatever you're doing, everybody should be lauded for what they're doing in the industry, and that to me makes you a special guest, because you're contributing something to the industry. So that's how the guest list has gotten so big.
It's a big list.
It
So
is.
I'm
It
looking
is.
forward to the party. It'll be a good time. So, but that kind of, you answered my question. So Paige emerged from that RPG trading group on Facebook. Am
It
I hearing that right?
it did. Myself, uh, Daniel Lawrence, the dice guru,
Okay.
Ryan Morgan, another very high level collector, and several other folks who were part of that group. I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to need help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I basically put out a call to action based on what the requests were, and people answered the call of action, and more people were answering it for year two. I mean, we picked up a director of operations in Phil Wirt, who's a great guy. He's working very hard. I'm very appreciative to have him on board. He makes it a lot easier, especially as we're growing. We have a social media and kind of a small graphics design person who's on, and Rebecca Swesney. She's doing a great job. And our staff and volunteers, really answered the call, and they're ready to go for January.
It's amazing. So, and you had also said this is not the first big event you've organized, though. You've done this before.
Yeah, back before the internet was really a thing. Yeah, I did. Back when you used to send out a registration book and hope people ripped that back page out and filled in what events they wanted to run and stapled a check to it and sent it in as a pre-registration. It's a different world today. Things like tabletop events make it much easier to organize a convention, organize your volunteers,
Mm-hmm.
organize your play spaces, your table spaces. It makes it easy, and that's great. But now, used to wrestle with game stores to get them to promote your convention. A lot of them didn't want to do it because they were afraid their players would go buy stuff at the
Okay.
convention and forget about their store, which was just nonsense. But
Mm-hmm.
that was the belief of a lot of game stores back then. Now, game stores are more than willing to help promote because they know gamers have choices. They can go to anywhere. They can go to eBay. They can go to Amazon. They can go to any other site to buy what they want. So if you have bricks and mortar, You need to be a little more accommodating and realize that rising tides raise all ships, right?
Hmm.
So very little difficulty with stores helping promote the convention. Very, very happy for that. And we try to do our part to help other conventions as well now. Um,
Well, I mean,
I'm
just case in point, when I was just doing my little micro convention in the basement of my church last spring, you're like, "Well, I'm coming and running a game. Can I set up a table for Paige?" I was like, "Yeah." And folks, I mean, Ron showed up, talked to Dave and I for like an hour and a half at one point one afternoon. Had a great time. Ron bought pizza for the folks who were staying for the evening session, and it was just an absolutely amazing time. So the fact that you're just even supporting my little microcon, that meant the world to me. So thank you very much.
well, it's important that we support the people who also support us, right? I mean, it's unfortunate I can't make your game day because I committed to be in Connecticut at another convention. So that scheduling conflict kind of threw a monkey wrench in it. But you know, I want to be there for the people who support the efforts that I'm putting out, or support the Facebook group that I run, or come out and game master at Page, or
Hmm.
whatever it is. I want to support people who support us, because that's kind of what life's about, right? I mean, you everybody should support each other, and I want people to be successful in the hobby. I want people to, I want people to have access to the hobby.
Hmm.
So anyone who's producing something that's out there, they should be supported. Very, very, very akin to what I said about you know special guest status.
Hmm.
I mean, if you're putting the time in and you're trying to make the hobby a better place through reviews or through discussion on streaming services or whatever it is, you're a key contributor, and you deserve to be lauded for that and supported for that.
Well, thank you very much. Just give a shout out. What convention are you going to that weekend on the 28th?
I'm going to ShireCon in Connecticut. That's Tom Wilson's convention. Um, actually, I'm going to be talking to both of you at some point. You're going to get an email from me because back in the old days, there was something called the Northeast Convention Coordinators Committee.
Okay.
And it was all of the conventions from like New England down through Washington, D.C. were part of it. And the main sharing was, hey, let's lay out a schedule so we're not conflicting or even coming close to conflicting.
Gotcha.
But there were sharing of resources as well. Like, hey, can we, can we get a mailing list? Now, mailing
Hmm.
lists are a little different than they used to be. But hey, can you send out a blast email for me?
Hmm. Okay.
Hey, can we swap ads in our registration books?
Gotcha.
Like, how can we be out there supporting each other? Because it doesn't make sense for us to, go head to head in the schedule. It doesn't help the gaming community much. Unfortunately, I had already committed to Tom to go up there.
That's a
Um,
fantastic con. Go have fun.
Yeah, I committed to it, and then came to the realization after I was going to run games for you. I said, "Oh, geez, it's the same weekend." So, but you'll have me on board for anything else you're doing in the
Yeah.
future, of course.
So thank you, Dave.
It's on my bucket list. I do want to get up there at some point for that convention. I hear good things.
I just want to go for the name. I just the name's got me. I'm
Hobbit
good.
feet are required.
Hobbit feet are required. Dave, so he had already answered the question, what inspired you to start Page? So I'm going to take your
Yeah,
question from you,
we
which
already
is
nailed
fine.
that one.
Just to talk about logistics a little bit, how many folks were at Page last year?
1,140.
Okay, so do you have a goal for an increase this year, or are you just hoping? Because the space is much bigger than it was last year.
It is not. It's the same space in 2025.
Is it? I thought it was a larger. A larger
No, in
foot. Okay.
2026, we're going up to over 100,000 square feet.
Oh, okay. I thought it was okay.
Yeah,
So it's
no,
larger.
we're going to expand in 2026. Um, the do I have a goal? I mean, I had a goal of 500 last year, and
You killed that, so that's
1140
good.
showed up. So, right now we're hovering just under 600 pre-registrants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Looking back last year at how it filled in, starting like basically now, it started really picking up steam September, October, November, December.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, 1,500.
Okay.
I'd like to hit 1,500. I don't think it's out of the question. But we'll see. I mean, I know one thing. We have a couple of time slots this year where there are over 80 tables running
That's awesome.
simultaneously. So, um, something like 86 or 87, and that includes over at the Hilton Garden Inn where we're based. So, yeah, it's pretty active this year. The main thing that's going to drive us next year is we sold out our vendor space in February.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah. So we have 60 plus vendors on the waiting list now. So our vendor area is going to expand, and with it, the gaming space is going to expand with it.
Okay. It's a very nice vendor list. You have a bunch of some new publishers coming this year, right? So you
A
had
bunch.
you have a bunch of new publishers coming this year. Like last year, you had Goodman Games, and I'm not sure what other publishers were there. Ham and Eggs was there.
We had Frog God last
Frog
year,
was there. Okay.
and we had Pace Setter.
Okay.
We had Throwy Games was there.
Okay.
Some of the you know small press folks, independent publishers union folks. This year we've got the same folks, but we also have Troll Lord Games is going to be there, and obviously they're a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So they're going to be there, and we have to, because we only have like 60 vendor spots.
Mm-hmm.
We heavily curate who's coming in.
Okay.
You know, wouldn't do us any good to have seven dice manufacturers there. They probably all sell out anyway, but conversely, it wouldn't do us any good to have three different D&D themed soap manufacturers there, right? I mean, we want the vendors to be successful,
Gotcha.
and we also want variety for the attendees. So we heavily curate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good space. And just kind of talk about, because we talked about the size, which I mean, you doubled what you were hoping for the first year, and hoping to go up to 1,500 this year. But for folks who haven't been to a convention, which is a lot of folks who have gotten in since pandemic, have never been to a convention, even a lot of long-term players have never been. What do you love about the convention setting for playing a TTRPG? Like, why is that such a cool thing to you?
Well, we initially play because we love the game, but we also like the social interaction of it, right? We're there at the table, we're all enjoying ourselves, we're having fun, and there's something to be said about sitting down at a table. Online gaming is great, don't get
Mm-hmm.
me wrong, but sitting at a table and sharing camaraderie and sharing food and soft drinks, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera, and the fun of the game is all part of it. And you meet people at conventions, you meet like-minded people, you meet people who are players in your region, and that is a great takeaway, because one, you may be finding that next person to join your group, your
Mm-hmm.
home group, but two, there's a lot of bonds that are made at conventions and friendships form, and that's a great part of coming to a convention. Yeah, many gamers, for right or for wrong, many of them were kind of fringy when we were younger, right? I was kind of like on the fringe of, am I cool? Am I nerd? What am I? Um,
Yes.
so I would suggest that anybody who is interested in this kind of gaming, go to a game convention because you'll be with your people.
There's also a very specific energy that comes with a convention. I know as a guy who works on miniatures a lot, there's a energy that you sort of feed on, and sometimes you wind up getting your best work or your most amount of work done at a convention.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Wes, I have a person who's joined one of my game groups as like a regular
Mm-hmm.
from your convention.
Elise.
Yeah,
Oh, she's awesome.
she is awesome.
Yeah.
She's absolutely awesome. My wife thinks the world of her. I think the world of her, and she's been a great addition to our Sunday game group, and um, you know, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't go to EcclesiaCon. I wouldn't have met her.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have run into Dave. You and I wouldn't have gotten to know each other the way we've been able to
Mm-hmm.
get to know each other since Page. I mean,
It's cool.
time well spent. Time well spent.
Meeting people is always good time well spent. I would not have met Dave if he had not video bombed me while I was doing a live update at PAX U last year. That's literally how we met.
Literally how we met was it was before the convention started. He's doing this little, hey, I'm at PAX Unplugged, and I walk by and just like, hey.
He goes
And
nuts.
then I kind of felt bad, like, that maybe that was a little jerky. So I'll apologize to him, and then we got to talking, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I don't really care about stuff. Because folks know I'm a pastor. I keep trying to get my neighbor to show up in the middle of worship asking to borrow a ladder because I just think that would be hysterical. I'm not a normal person. But no, I mean, that's so cool. And
Wow, that's an understatement.
yeah, that's true. So
Listen, I don't care. I don't care what religion you're preaching. I'm a hard no on lending tools to neighbors. No.
I didn't say I would give it to him. I just wanted to come and ask.
Oh, okay.
So,
I will never see that mini chainsaw ever again.
Neither borrower nor lender be.
there
Okay.
you go. Of tools. I just bring the person with it. Here, I need this done. Bring your tool, and I'll sit here and stare because I can't do anything in a straight line. That would be great. So that's my relationship with my neighbors. So I mean, the social aspects, the gaming aspects, the fact that Elise is coming to your thing. Elise is on my Discord for DM Tales. One of the kindest people you'll ever meet, and she is so excited to play all the different games. It's so cool.
Yeah.
For folks who are wanting to jump into doing a convention experience, why would a convention like Page be a place where they want to start that?
Page is interesting because it's a mix of old and new systems.
Okay.
One of the great moments from Page last year is every Thursday before the convention we have a volunteer and special guest cheesesteak dinner where we let our special guests come in and our staff and volunteers come in, and they share the camaraderie before the convention starts. And it's kind of it's a reward to our volunteers and staff. And, they get to meet the special guests, and as opposed to taking up their time, during the regular convention, they get
Gotcha.
unfettered time with them. But one of the most fascinating moments that took place last year at that dinner, there were a group of students from Rowan University there, a large group, and they were volunteers, and only one of them had any idea who Frank Mentzer was and what his standing in the hobby was.
Okay.
But he went over to their table at that dinner and sat down with them, and he had them fascinated with tales of the industry, philosophy on gaming and Dungeons and Dragons, and they were engrossed in hanging on every word that he said. And I'm like, this is great with all this divisiveness, I'm going to call it, in the hobby at the time. Fifth edition, first edition, grognard, woke gamer, whatever people were yelling at each other.
Right.
Here we had people from 2 generations apart engaged in a conversation, smiles from ear to ear, all of them, listening to what Frank had to say. And, Frank made it interactive when he was talking. He was asking them questions.
Okay.
And they, really kind of passing it forward to them.
Okay.
And I thought it was great. And so that's one reason I think Page is great, because it's really a variety of people. It's, a lot of the founders of the industry are there, as well as today's content creators.
Okay.
Like yourself and Dave, Professor Dungeon Master, Sly Flourish, it's a who's who, Bob World Builder. They're going to be there. And I think that's great. So no matter what your taste is, there's something there for you. And then I think the last thing is, it's heavy pre-registration. Like, the schedule's there.
Okay.
It's online. You can go through it. You can look at all the games. You can reserve your seat at that game and know you're in that game. There's no element of chance, short of somebody getting sick or not showing, whatever it is.
Right.
You know what your game schedule is going to bring you at Page. And that's kind of the way it used to be at conventions 25 years ago.
Okay.
And I know conventions today, and this isn't a negative, but it's different.
Right.
It's like, we're going to fill the place with vendors, and we're going to fill the place with open gaming tables, and they're going to come, and it's working for different conventions.
Right.
To me, if I'm asking somebody to plunk over $100 or $125, I want to show them what they're going to get. I should do my due diligence as the organizer and find people to run those games.
Okay.
And bring people in. So you kind of know what you're getting when you get there. There's no mad rush. There's no cattle call. There's no trying to get into the game on your phone. You can pre-register. You can print out your schedule. You can buy your badge today, register for your games, and you're set. You know what's going to be there. So I think that's another aspect for a new gamer, that it's pretty regimented. You know what you're getting. It's so that's important. When you graduate to these big boys, where it's kind of like, let me find who I can play with, or let me see if I can get into that game. I wouldn't feel comfortable with telling people to show up at the convention and then maybe you get into a game. That's not my idea of what a convention organizer should do.
Yeah.
An early posted schedule always makes the big difference.
Yeah. PAXU has their official events, which is always like you have to register the day of. And there is that mad rush. And then they do a lot of their TTRPG stuff is not even managed directly through the registration page. It's through another site, which works fine, but it gets so massive. It gets so big. It gets a little confusing. But Gamehole Con seems to still have that buy your ticket, know what your schedule is mentality.
Yeah,
a lot of
I'll be out there. I'll be out there this year. I'm running events there this year.
So I'm hoping I can go next year. Now I have to save money, but I hope that I can get the Gamehole Con next year, which should be a lot of fun. Dave,
another one that's on my bucket list.
Yeah, go Dave.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. So we talked about conventions as they pertain to attendees. How do you feel that conventions actually help game publishers? So industry side.
Well, I think the folks that the people who come to a game convention as attendees, they're very dedicated gamers, right? They're leaving their living room or their dining room or their basement, and they're coming to a place where they're going to interact with other gamers and other other game systems, frankly. So, you're getting the upper echelon folks. I'll call them the leaders of the role playing game community in
Mm-hmm.
the region. They're going to be there. So, if you can catch the right, just like anything else you're trying to sell, okay, any product, it doesn't have to be role playing games. If you get to the key communicators, then you're going to have success. They'll help you, peddle or whatever service or game that you're attempting to sell.
Yeah.
Those are the folks that come to conventions. If they think what you have is good, they're going to go home and they're going to share it. They're going to go to their local game store and say, "Hey, why aren't you carrying this?" They're going to be online talking about it. And
This is true.
that's a key. That's a real key. So I mean, for small game publishers, you want to be amongst your customers.
How do you think the
So
page actually offers something unique to help bolster company participation?
say that again.
So, how do you feel? What do you feel that Page offers to inspire more companies to interact with the convention and promote there?
Yeah, I mean, one, of course, the vendor room's there, and if you can get the vendor space, great. But we do set up a lot of smaller areas where let's just take the folks who make wizard miners. Okay, the guys with the hats at the conventions, they go to Gen Con, they were at
Mm-hmm.
Page last year. All right, they weren't in the vendors room last year, but we did give them dedicated space and say, go ahead, run your games all weekend and put the game under the table and sell it to whoever you want. They're right out of South Jersey here. We want them to be successful, right? There were several other guys that we just we just kind of set up around the.
Yeah, there was a collectible card game that was set up in one of the game rooms that were doing demos.
Correct. Yep. I think that was Monstrider, if I remember correctly.
I'm on the Discord. It's the Avenue Studios guys love it because they're all into that. So that was kind of fun. I loved that they were popped in and kind of intermingled with the rest of the folks. It was really neat. So
Yeah.
it's a small and an intimate thing at Page. So 1,500 people is nothing to sneeze at, but it's nothing compared to like the 60,000 that are going to go to the bigger conventions plus. And so not only are these folks here that are you can talk to all these people, you could accidentally just sit down next to them in a game and have no idea that they were playing. So I was talking with Dan from Avenue Studios last year. Ended up playing the Play-Doh game that you were going to run at
Sure.
EcclesiaCon,
Sure.
and he sat down next to Stephen Glicker from Roll for Combat, and they
Mhm.
met there. Now they talk all the time. But
Right.
so his son's character got destroyed by Stephen Glicker in the game. That's like his story that he can tell for the rest of his life. It's like, I got murdered by Stephen Glicker. He's like, I only killed the character. It's okay. But like, you can't just have that kind of conversation because everybody's running from one end of the building to another. And Page is such a more intimate gathering. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, they're very accessible. All of the guests are very accessible. I mean, when you think about it, right now we've got 600 people pre-registered,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got 60 plus special guests.
Yeah. The ratio is good.
So this is the kind of ratio you want with your school teacher in their classrooms. And I'm not interested in having guests that aren't going to interact with the attendees.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is that usually an issue?
we kind of kept a close eye on it last year, and there's a couple of people who were on the guest list last year that didn't get their invite got lost in the mail this year.
Oh, I'm sorry. Genuinely, I did not even remotely think that was a thing.
Listen, I had to run one of the guests' games because he disappeared on us on
Oh
Friday.
no.
Oh,
I don't want to
And
name, but
so
no, I don't
I
want to
knew
name.
the adventure. I'm not going to say the adventure because it'll give away who the
Yeah.
guest was. But you know, I was getting set up and I said, listen, you know, folks, I'm very familiar with this product. I've run this product. So we're gonna give it a go for a few encounters here and go from there. And um, because I didn't have his adventure, I
Okay.
actually had to do character generation sitting. You know, I didn't have his paperwork, I should say.
Oh wow.
We did character generation right at the table, and as I was doing it, Jeff D comes over and sits down and goes, "Ron, can I play in this game?" And I went, "Sure, sit
Sure.
down."
We're making it up as we go along. Have a seat. Let's go.
Yeah, no,
Jeff's a
no,
good
and
dude.
it was,
That sounds very on point for Jeff.
yeah, but you know what? It was great, but you know the fact that the guests are there, and you
Uh-huh.
know you folks will see it when you're in on Thursday evening. You know, you're there, you're interacting, and um, everybody's accessible. There's no mystery to who's doing what. Like,
Okay.
you know, I was everywhere last year. You know, nobody got this from me when they wanted to talk to me. Nobody got this.
Okay.
You know, I want to make sure we're talking to every attendee, every guest, every vendor, um, and you know, the staff and volunteers are drilled on that. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
you know we've got real simple policies: be friendly, be patient, and be firm. That's the staff's rules. You
Okay.
know, those three things, the three B's, and you know, you know, when people come, they should feel like it's just a bigger version of their home game. And you know, you mentioned 60,000 people at a convention.
Yeah.
You know, for me, you know, Page is growing. It's got a good reputation around the country. Even last year, in our first year, we had people from 27 different states there.
Yeah.
Um,
It's pretty cool.
I don't know how many different states we have this year. I know it's more. I know we have people from like 7 different countries coming.
Oh wow.
So it's growing and it's going to grow as long as we stick to our, you know, not to sound like the Eagles coach, as long as we stick to our core values. Um, but as long as we stick to those, it's going to continue to grow. But I don't ever want to be that.
Right.
You know, to me, you know, I want it to be a gathering where people come every year and it's the convention where everybody, whether they have standing in the industry or not, can show up and have a good time and knows what to expect when they get there.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, everybody gets to interact with the friends they met at last year's convention. And you know, if that's what the convention becomes over the years, and you know, we're not losing money, and we're able to do the good that we're able to do with our gamer assistance program
Mm-hmm.
charitable initiative, you know, that to me is a success. You know, it's not let's see how many people we can get in the house. If we're going to do that, I would have rented the whole place and just sold vendor space and let
Well,
the
you would have
vendor
had to kick out the
push.
cheerleaders this year too, and that would have been kind of rough. So the I just got in chat. Just got on. Lee Stanford, your first GM, just joined chat and said hello. So is that
Did he
true?
really?
Yes,
Yeah,
Did he
Lee,
Lee's
really?
right there.
just got on. It's Lee Stanford, your first DM.
Leland Stanford.
Uh
That's
huh.
Thanks
my
for the
first
shout out
GM.
at the beginning of the stream. He
Yep.
also commented.
So he is watching.
Yes. Lee will have fond memories as I do of our party of Lecty Vance, Balinor, and Bjorn Nichor going, quote, a mugging in the village of Hamlet.
This is like proto
I
murder
remember it like
hoboing. Is that what's
I
going
remember
on?
it like it was yesterday.
And with that, I'm out.
Proto murder hobing in Hoblet. That's great. He says he wishes he was still in the Philly area to go to the con. Lee, we wish you were still in the area too. That would be awesome. So
Just jump on 95, Lee. You're not that far away. Jeez Louise.
well, how far is he coming from? How many states does he have to cross? I
He's
won't
coming
ask
from
you
New
where.
England.
New
He's coming from
England.
New England.
New England. I got somebody coming down from Maine. Hitch a ride. You're good. So
You can stay at your brother's house.
it's like you're volunteering bed space. It's great. Come on
Yeah,
down,
that's no
Lee.
problem. That's no problem. I'll Facebook Greg right now and say Lee's coming down in January.
Oh, that's awesome. That would be. But then you got to get him on stage to talk about going mugging in the village of Hamlet.
We didn't fare too well when Rufus kicked our butts, so we didn't do that well.
I actually need to pick that one back up again. I lost it from my childhood.
The 6-hour drive from Boston, that's nothing.
That's nothing. I used to live up there.
That's weak if that's your excuse.
I'm from Philly. I lived in exile in Boston for 6 years. So let's talk about, since we're talking about Paige and Lee coming down, when is Lee coming down to Paige next year?
Well, the convention's January 16th through the 19th. The 20th, nobody has to be home early because it's
a holiday
Martin Luther
weekend.
King Day.
Yep.
Thursday nights for the special guests, game masters, staff, volunteers, and gold badge holders. There's a special time slot beginning at 8 p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn. Many of the guests are running games during that special time slot. And, we're going to have Heidi Gygax running games, Jeff Dees running games, Frank Metzer's running games, Jay Scott's running games. So there's a lot of good stuff going on Thursday night. And then the main convention center opens on Friday morning. And, it's a crush of events over there. We're really having trouble finding table space at this point.
It's going to be
for everything we're going to do.
Yep. Going to be a lot of fun. And where can people get their badges and tickets?
Yeah, they can go to phillygamingexpo.com. And, if they use the discount code DM Tails, capital D, capital M, capital T, and then Nails.
I'm a discount code?
Yeah, you have your own discount code. So does Gamers on Games, which has been used several times already.
Oh, cool.
I know I had one of my regulars go, just so you know, I used your discount code. I'm like, that's really cool. I'm glad to
that's what it's there for. So
kind of the point.
I have a pesky fly that's flying towards the light.
I know, I love it. I just
he's going to see the light. If he stops for even a moment, I'm going to send him to the light.
Reminds me of that scene from A Bug's Life. Stop flying towards light. I can't help it.
It's so beautiful.
Guess who has kids?
Not me. That's how come I have such a big game collection. While you're out buying food and clothing for children, I'm spending it wastefully on gaming stuff.
That's why my schedule is so packed. So, question for people coming to attend: what amenities and restaurants and stuff like that in the area would you recommend that people hit while they are attending Paige?
There's plenty of restaurants within a quarter of a mile. It's right on a major thoroughfare there. So I don't have a preferred one. PJ Wheelahands is right there.
PJs.
That's one that I think will be a lot of fun for people. But I would say, it depends on what kind of food you like, and that's what I'd hit. One of the good things about Paige is it's free parking.
It is free parking.
Yes, it is.
It's free parking. So that's good. You're not supposed to bring outside food or drink into the convention center. However, we have diligently sought out Sergeant Schultz to stand at the front door and police for food. And rumor has it is that he sees nothing and he knows nothing. Yes.
Colonel Hogan.
So
Oh, Hogan's Heroes, you never get old, just more quotable.
yeah, we're just not going to bring up any we got to leave Bob Crane out of the Hogan's Heroes references because time has not been good to him.
Oh dear. This is true.
I will say this. I don't remember the name of the place, but there's an amazing barbecue joint that is right next to the convention center. And that's if you love barbecue.
There's some good pizza nearby too. Yeah, I saw the no outside food or drink last year, and then I saw like all the people who are volunteering had like a pile high of donuts. I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're just pretending that doesn't exist. That's good.
Well,
So,
when you give donuts to the staff at the convention center,
uh-huh.
they see nothing, they know nothing. Especially
bribe the DM with food, go up a
if it's
level.
coupled with coffee. But I can tell you one of our sponsors in the special guests DM and staff lounges is a company called Critical Hit Cookies.
They're coming?
They make homemade cookies. We have
I had a whole different impression of what that meant.
We have 25 dozen cookies coming in for those areas.
Oh, and I'm now drooling. They're good.
Yeah, we're gonna have a cookie quota, so don't get too carried away.
I'll
we're gonna have somebody counting cookies.
It's fine.
Everybody, we're gonna make sure it's gonna be very socialist in there. Everybody gets an equal amount of cookies.
I'm fine with that. As long as someone saves me an oatmeal raisin, I'm good. And nobody wants those anyway, so I'm fine.
Excuse you.
Not true. Not true.
Well, I don't understand. Like the people who talk about oatmeal raisin cookies, like this is why I feel betrayal. I'm like, no, they're awesome. Like, who does not like an oatmeal raisin cookie? What is wrong with people?
Sometimes you'll want something light with fruit in it.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't like oatmeal raisin cookies, you just have to look them in the eye and ask them, what kind of monster are you?
Why do you not like hugs? I don't understand. It's just
a little bit of cinnamon, a little brown sugar in there.
Was that the fly who just flew by?
Yes.
It looked like it was either that or someone threw something at Ron.
No, there's a gigantic fly that made its way into my game room.
I have mosquito flying around that I might destroy.
It's a will-o-wisp. It's trying to lure him away.
Luring him away. All right. So, Ron, listen, it's 9:40. We're late. Thank you so much for coming on and making the time. I
appreciate you having me, and looking forward to seeing you both at Page, if not sooner.
I'm really looking forward to being there, and I hope we can get together soon. I would love to come down and play Shadow Dark sometime because that group looks like a blast.
We have a lot of fun with it.
Uh-huh.
We're learning that the system has a couple of holes in it when it comes to long-term campaign play, but little too dice dependent on the skill level.
Yeah, because your skills go up so high. Yeah,
it's very Blood Bowl.
Oh yeah,
very Blood Bowl in the way that if you roll lucky when you move up a level, hey, oh wow, look at that, my strength just went up, or you could get hey, you learned how to use a new weapon. I mean, it's very dice driven.
Yes, it is for that old skills listing.
Yeah, so for players who want to who like the part of developing not only their character's personality and the role they take on, but they also like developing how the character performs in gameplay. This isn't going to be that. Shadow Dark doesn't contain the control factor that those players are going to.
It's not a min-maxer's game.
It's just you're not making any choices. You roll the dice, and the dice tells you what you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think there could probably be a little bit more of a compromised thought process there.
Give it like a choice between 2 or 3 feats or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think it would be better for overall gameplay. Make people feel a little bit more invested in their characters.
That's interesting. I'm starting a Dragonbane campaign as my basic fantasy campaign winds down, and they're getting used to the system because the 2 of my players got killed last week. So they literally rolled the character up that day, they did one adventure or like one encounter that was supposed to be just like an ease in to learn the system, and they just did boneheaded things and died. Like, wait, I'm
Did,
dead? Like, yeah.
did they did they go a mugging at outside the inn of the Welcome Wench?
They did not.
They didn't do that?
They did
Then
not
you know
go a
what?
mugging.
They're ahead where a young Greg, a young Bryant, and a young Ron were with Lee Stanford as the DM back in 1980 or 81.
Proto murder hobos. I love it. It's great. So, but really good. Dave, you got anything you want to add before we sign off here?
No, no. Actually, this is a good place to end. I actually need to bail out.
Okay.
I got to bail out like this car's on fire.
All right, man.
So I do want to say thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me participate in your stream. I'm unfortunately, as soon as we got started, mine crashed. So that unfortunately happened because I was mirroring your stream.
Oh no.
So I will have to rectify that later.
Okay.
Ron, very good seeing you. Very good talking to you again. You are a man of many complete answers and also many, many mysteries.
Okay.
That's almost like Bilbo's goodbye speech at his birthday party. And
Many mysteries. Yes.
I like half of you as much as you deserve, and
less than half of you more than
you may want. I can't remember the exact phrasing. Crap, I had it and I lost it.
That's good. All right, Dave.
All right, so I gotta bail. I'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, Dave out.
All right. Well, Rod, listen, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Really looking forward to Paige. Again, thank you so much for your support for EcclesiaCon last year. That meant the absolute world to me. You know, I had that goal for just 50 players to show up. Folks came because you were going to be there, and that really, really helped me out. So thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity to come to Paige this year as a special guest.
Hey, no problem. And I have something for you for EcclesiaCon. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to give you 2 weekend passes that you can raffle off for your charitable initiative that you're involved in.
Oh my gosh!
At EcclesiaCon. So you know whatever you get for them, you get for them, and put it in towards the. I believe it's a book drive, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's for booksmiles.org. It's a reading advocacy group down here in South Jersey. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So much.
You're welcome.
I'm just gonna go out real quick and say goodbye to folks who are still on the stream, and then if you stay on the line for just a couple minutes, I'll just say goodbye to you proper when we get off. Is that okay with you?
Sure. And I got to tell you, I'm tickled pink that Lee Stanford logged into this.
I think that's so cool. It's like your first GM showed up. Like, see, TTRPGs create friendships for life. That's the way it works. So I'll be right back with you, sir.
Yep.
So,
okay.
Folks, thank you. That was a fantastic conversation we had with Ron and with Dave. Thank you, Dave, for coming on and asking some really good questions and just being part of the fun conversation and asking weird non sequitur questions about dice. I very much appreciate that. Folks, it has been a really interesting month for me with things going on just here in town. Have managed to get some content up. Continuing to do that. This week, I'm hoping to have my video on my favorite TTR publishers that I've encountered since being back in the hobby space since 2020. Next Monday in the evening, I am going to be chatting with David Ward from Grinwood Games to talk about his new Ironbound system, which is modern urban fantasy. Fantastic system, a lot of fun. Really looking forward to chatting with him. And then I hope next Wednesday I'll be having another conversation with someone I can't quite announce yet because it's not locked down. But believe me, you'll want to be there for that. That's going to be hopefully at around noon, so early afternoon. Got a lot more stuff in the pipe, and I am looking forward to getting it all to you. But until we see each other again, folks, happy playing, everyone.